This is the Total Freedom Podcast, presenting number one best-selling author Christopher Duncan, bringing you proven strategies to free your time, free your mind, and free your income, so that you can do more of what matters most. Learn more at ChristopherMDuncan.com.
Welcome to the Total Freedom Podcast. Today, I'm with Juvan Langford, and dude, it's been quite a few months. I've been following what you've been up to and hearing about you, and finally we're here talking, man. So thanks so much for spending some time.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for creating the time to chat with me.
And so listeners, Juvan's doing a lot of stuff. He's in Byron Bay, Australia right now, which is a place super close to my heart. But really you're focused on, helping men achieve their legacy, to really step into their true self and achieve what they want. You also help women and many other things, but I love it. And I love what you're all about, taking that stand for men. And I know that there might be some women out there going, but don't men already get higher pay grade, and don't they already get all these certain things? And I think the truth is that, yes, that might be true, but also there's this whole other part that men are missing, where it's the emotional side, the vulnerability side, that support that's missing. But bro, I might just leave it off to you to kind of just give everyone a big intro on who you are and what you're up to. I think it's pretty inspiring, man.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it for being here, and thank you for taking the time to chat. I'm really focused and super committed to creating safe spaces around the world, whether that be a workshop, whether it be content on my YouTube channel, or just really having a really powerful speaking engagement and teaching men to reframe the stories that are holding them back in their lives. I really truly believe we all have that one thing that we're shameful of, or that one conversation that's truly serving as a barrier for us to truly live our legacy. Men are here to protect and to serve, but most importantly, to live out a legacy. And sometimes we get, impeded by things that are stopping us from creating the legacy, because you can't live the legacy until you create it. And so that creation process is very important. And so my goal, my dream, my duty and responsibility, I feel, is to support men in that area, because has been one of my greatest challenges, for sure.
It's big, man, and I love the way that you bring up safe spaces. And we do have those conversations, and it is very important. So I know you've got a big story around all of this. I was doing some research, and my team was also looking up. So, do you want to dive into what brought you into this space, and how you decided this is what you're going to do? Because Dude, it's inspiring to watch your videos. And the one thing that I get mostly from watching you is your groundedness with it. And I just want you to know that when I watch your videos, I just it's like relaxing, man. So what's your story, dude? How did you end up as this international speaker, YouTuber, traveling around the globe, empowering men, about to release some big things, which we'll share later? How did you end up there? Did you this easy for you, or has it been a bit of a journey?
So this has been one hell of a journey.
One heaven of a journey. One heaven of a journey.
There you go. I like that. Reframe. Perfect. It's definitely been a journey for me. I think, here's the thing. Sometimes in life, there are lessons that we need to learn that are not fair. We all have experienced those lessons, right? And for me, the lesson was losing my dad. I was 4 years old. My dad was 30. He diagnosed with leukemia, and within 9 months, he passed away. I had a teenage mother. She was 16 when she got pregnant with me, and she made a choice to keep me. And it presented its challenges for her. She was unable to really become a mom. She didn't know what it meant to be a woman yet. And so I was raised in foster care along with two of my sisters, and that presented its own challenges as well. And the journey just kept unfolding. But I grew up in a household with all females. And as a young man, and most men in America and around the world are raised by a single mother, there comes with this challenges as a man, not knowing what it means to be a man. So I spent a lot of my life trying to be man enough. Can I date this woman? Am I man enough to be on the basketball team or the football team or the run track? Am I man enough to have friends who believe in me and who will stick up for me and who are comfortable around me? Always trying to prove myself. And I never got it. I never understood what that meant. And so I would watch the teachers and watch the coaches and watch the people at the bus stops and like, how can I be man enough? And I had those were just really, really challenging times for me. I got teased a lot in high school, and ended up going to college and becoming, a pretty good athlete, and ended up signing a modeling contract, and things started to really switch and change. And I started to be seen and heard. People were paying attention to me. And what I realized is that what it looks like to be a man is different for everybody. There's no one definition of what it means to be a man. In fact, that's the beauty of manhood, is that knowing that there's different layers, textures, and colors to being a man. And now that I've come to that realization after intense work of having coaches, therapy, having amazing conversations with friends, I now know to be the truth that what it means to be a man is three things. There's three things: authenticity, integrity, and maturity. That's manhood. That's what I focus on. And so what I've done after coming to this conclusion is created workshops, created online content, video training, speaking engagements to teach men just this. Because sometimes in life, and I know we all experience this, we get to a place when we feel like we have nothing human to lean on. And a lot of men are feeling that. Like, who can I go to where they won't judge me? Who can I go to say that I don't feel man enough in my relationship with my wife? I don't feel like I'm showing up powerfully. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. Men don't share these things because it's vulnerable. And so I really am committed to changing that conversation and teaching men that their power is in their vulnerability. Their power is in their groundedness. Their power is in their connectedness. And so that's really what it is, And for some people, they're not ready to hear that they're part of the problem. I knew that I was a part of the problem because I was telling myself stories that weren't true. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is just because I feel things doesn't make them real. Mm-hmm. And a lot of men are feeling things that are not true about themselves, and it's causing them not to be able to create. It's causing confusion instead of clarity, and they're wondering why they're not achieving their goals. They're wondering why they're not serving, why they're not protecting, and why they're not living their legacy.
Wow. We're diving deep today.
We are. That's all we do. You see, deep is not a place that we go to, Chris. We're often already there.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. I feel like I'm going to get a lot out of this today. I'm going to sit in a little bit of a selfish, selfless place asking questions for myself.
It's all good. It's all good.
I love the vulnerability aspect and that it's strength. What do you think is the biggest challenges for men when it comes to being vulnerable? You're obviously doing a lot of work with them. Why do we not allow that to happen, even though we know that vulnerability is strength?
For sure. It's a great question. I feel coaching men, like the last year, I've done super intense work working with men, and super excited to reveal itself because we're always constantly learning. And I like, in one of your podcasts, I heard you say that you always leave an open seat because you're the student as well. I adopted that a year ago from a mentor, and I love that. Because as I'm teaching and I'm coaching and mentoring, I'm also learning, because I believe my greatest challenge, or whatever our greatest challenge is as men or women, is our thing that we get to break through and teach other people. So for me, it was manhood, it was masculinity, it was understanding, why am I so vulnerable and why do I see it as a weakness? And since changing and reframing that story, now I get to teach that. But it's really three things that I've come to the conclusion that really are holding back from thinking that vulnerability doesn't work, or that they can't come from a heart place and they're so comfortable with the head. The first is feelings of inadequacy. They don't feel that they're adequate enough. So a lot of men, they'll come to me and they'll say, I didn't take the job, or I didn't go out for that job because I didn't feel like I was good enough, or I didn't approach the girl because, she was beautiful and she probably wouldn't pay me any attention. So it's feelings of inadequacy, not feeling enough. And so I'm not going to let anybody know that I don't feel enough, because if I do, I look this way to the world. We don't want to do that, right? The second big thing is, I call it the impostor syndrome, right? So I'm super successful in business, I'm making money, and I'm traveling the globe, but I'm single, and I can't let anybody know that. Or I've got a beautiful girlfriend, or I've got an amazing family, but I'm broke and I can't provide experiences that I want to provide for them. And so there's this constant tug of war that they're going through mentally and physically, and they're afraid to reveal these things. And that's a hard conversation to have until it's not. And lastly is control. Men love to be in control. So letting go of the control factor, feeling as if I'm only powerful if I'm in control. I'm only seen or heard when I'm in control. If you can break through those three conversations, feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome, and lastly, the feelings of control, game changer. And so those are the really big things that I see that show up more often than not when it comes to working with men.
Right. And when you say game changer, I mean, these three things, they're scary things to go through, and to actually first off admit them, and then second to move through them. So somebody listening going, you know what, this sounds good, but what is on the other side?
What's on the other side? For me personally, I break into these conversations. So I'll give you a little bit more insight on my story, right? Because I in going through this and doing the deep work, you get to pluck the roots of things that don't work for you and plant new ones. And one of the stories that I had about myself was that, growing up in foster care, that I didn't want anybody to know that about me, because then I'll be the charity case, or that my mom was a teenage mom, or that my dad wasn't in my life. I was another fatherless son, or that being in foster care, I experienced sexual abuse. And that's affected me in so many different ways when it comes to intimacy and connection. Right. So all these things have held me back. But when I changed the story, I changed my life. When I reframed the story, I reframed my life. When I came from love, I created that in the world. So it's just shifting the dynamics of the thoughts that we have. Right. And so what I would say is, what's available on the other side is everything you think of when you wake up in the morning. What's available on the other side is the things you dream are possible. Right? Because my mindset has changed from this could happen or to I'm going to create this, period. It should you go from problem mindset to possibility mindset. More money. I've made more money than I've ever made in my life since changing these stories. I've connected deeper. I haven't made more relationships per se, but the depth of my relationships has increased incredibly. I know my friends like I know myself. My friends know me like I know myself, because I see them and I allow them to see me. So those are just a few of the things that's available to people, but we all want different things, but here's the thing. And for anybody who's listening to this podcast right now, you must want it and offer no consistent thought that opposes it. You got to burn all bridges, cut all sources of retreat, and be super committed. That's it. Because a lot of people, Chris, honestly, and this might hit some people in the gut, they just kind of want it. They just kind of want success. They just kind of want to live their legacy. They just kind of want to travel. They want to have the experiences and the total freedom. That's available to everybody. It truly is. But you can't kind of want it. You got to go out and get it. Period.
And the big thing that I'm getting from all this is all the people that we look up to have this. Because, and I've coached a lot of men as well, and we have our Legends Academy course, and we've got a lot of cool things. And they say to me, I said, what do you really want? They said, well, I want confidence. And I always ask them the question, well, what is confidence? And they go, best answer that anyone has ever come up with is confidence is not caring what anyone else thinks. And I'm sitting there going, it seems such an opposite thought that we're going to, give up control. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to not be seen as the impostor. And, and that is going to allow us some of these amazing feelings.
Yeah.
Out of everything you said, this one thing hit me, which was, you change your story and you change your life. And I just want to ask, how do we do that?
It's a beautiful word. It's called reframe. And reframing is simply replacing the narrative with something new. Is understanding the narrative that you're telling yourself, increasing your awareness of the story that you're currently telling yourself. Okay, I was abused as a child. And the story I have about myself is that I'm not man enough. The story I have about myself is that I'm questioning my sexuality. The story I have about myself is, will I be strong or bold or direct or masculine enough in this relationship if I approach this girl? These are all the stories. So these are the stories, okay, they're not working for me. It's clear. So how can I change these stories so that they do work? Reframe. So I'm not man enough. Okay, could it be possible that being a man is different for me than it is for the next guy? Absolutely. Right. Could it be possible that this female that I'm about to approach is actually attracted to the effeminate qualities that I put out there into the universe? Could it be possible? Could it be possible? Could it be possible? So it's coming from possibility and not the problem. And if we could learn to reframe the things that are not working more often than not, then we can change the story. So I'm gonna give you a quick analogy. This is something that I just had a coaching call recently with a client, and this particular client was going through a really hard time wanting to express some personal stuff to her mother. And she said, my mother she's on my back and she's really bothering me. And I don't really know how to communicate with her. I said, well, what I'm hearing you say is that you're complaining about something that you're tolerating, right? So When I was a young kid, my grandmother used to tell me, you can't complain about that which you tolerate. Either do something about it or stop complaining. You can't complain about it, right? So here's the thing. One of the things that we like to do as children is go to the park, right? So imagine you're at the park and you get on the swing. You're attached to the swing, right? A swing is very much like our story. And in order for you to roll out the story more, in order for you to swing faster, what do? You kick your legs. So a lot of people have a story and they're kicking their legs on that swing. They're going back and forth, right? And then what happens? The ice cream truck comes. You're at the park. And some people want ice cream, right? And it's obvious that the truck is there, but how do you get from the swing to the ice cream? You got to let go of the swing. You got to get off the swing. And a lot of people want the ice cream, but they're not willing to get off the swing. And they keep kicking and kicking and kicking and thinking, if I swing higher, maybe I'll get to the truck. If I swing faster, maybe I'll get to the truck. And they keep digging a hole and telling themselves stuff that are not serving them. And here's what I learned is that when I'm attached to the story, I limit what's available to me. So as long as you stay on that swing, you will not experience that ice cream. You won't have it. So anybody who's listening, whatever the story is you're telling yourself, whatever that swing that you're sitting on right now, stop kicking your legs, choose higher, and get off the swing and have what you came for. It's available to everybody. Just some people are willing to get off the swing and some people aren't.
I love it.
Choice.
I love it. So make that choice, right? Just literally, you know, with my work with a lot of guys it's as though they would just like to get and experience what it is that they want, but they're not willing to risk what they've already had. And I can't remember if it was our friends Preston and Alexi that said this to me, or I got it from somewhere else. But it was this question, man. And I want to bring this into our conversation. The question was, in order to have what you want, you must be willing to risk who you've been. Or in order to step into who you're becoming, you must risk who you've been. Yeah. And most
in order to become it, you must be able to risk who you think you are.
Right, dude. Yeah. Added to it. And that's, and I love it. And so for any man or women or anyone that's listening, there's something that we want to become. Or there's something that we would like to have. And there's this swing that we're on, right? And we want to be there, but we're not moving because of our story, because of our situation, because of these things. But sometimes we've heard this. We've heard it, right? And they know it intellectually. And so here's my question for you is all the people you work with, what's the difference between knowing it and then actually doing it? What is there some sort of similarities that we can kind of model from? And it sounds like you obviously know NLP with some of the languaging. How can we model or pull out that process? I know we're going deep on this. You might just be like, dude, I don't know, which is fine.
Keep coming.
What do you think is the key or keys to the difference between the person who stays just hearing this and then the person that gets up and walks over to the ice cream truck?
Pain. One of my favorite stories is of a young guy who takes the same walk to work every morning. And as he passes the houses on his left and right, there are dogs barking in every yard. And except for one, there's this one yard where the dog is on the porch and he's moaning and he's crying. And one day it gets the best of him, Chris. And he stops at the porch and he asks the guy on the porch, he says, why is your dog the only one moaning? I walk this route every day to work and your dog is the only one moaning. And he says, well, I reckon it's because he's sitting on a nail. And the guy says, what? Well, why doesn't he get off the nail? The guy gets up off the porch and just before he enters the house, he says, I reckon it doesn't hurt him bad enough. Pain. People are willing to sit on the nail so as long as it doesn't hurt them any longer. Some people are not ready to get off the nail. And some people have that moment, that experience, that conversation, that video, that YouTube video, that link, that picture, that one thing happen. And they say, you know what? Enough is no longer enough. I'm ready to change the dynamics, the direction of my life. And that's it, you know? And some people are super committed to positioning themselves to serve at a greater capacity. You get the call. The call comes at different times to different people. And when the pain is great enough, people will take action. But some people are just not ready to get off the nail.
And we have to let them sit on that nail, right?
Yeah.
So when was it for you? We've talked broadly about your story. The listeners know my story when I had that moment. But what was that big turning point for you? You went from this guy to, when was it?
It was fairly recent. It was definitely a journey for sure. It definitely had its milestones, but just I'd say a little over a year ago, I was invited to Dominican Republic. I was invited out there. I was found on YouTube by this agency in New York City. They heard that I grew up in foster care, and they have an organization out there in DR, and they invited me on a 10 days, all expenses paid retreat to work with foster kids in DR, and I got to be a keynote speaker there. And in the last couple of days being on the island, Chris, I got to really connect with the young kids. It was kids from ages 7 to I think about 15, 16 years old. And there was a group of boys who followed me the last few days, and they were asking me questions. You play sports? Yo, you're so tall. I'm 6'6". And, where are you from? And what's your family? And how do you speak Spanish? And all these questions. And we really bonded. And the last day, we sat in a circle and they shared their stories. And they shared about their dads abusing their moms, about not having any shoes on their feet, and how they eat once or twice a week, and how they don't know, have no visions for their life. They have no heroes. They have no dreams. And I sat there realizing, man, this was me at one point. I didn't know what life would turn out to be. I didn't have a dad. My mom wasn't present in my life. I experienced some pretty shitty stuff growing up. And, I had a lot of love in my life, but I didn't have clarity. Nobody showed up for me until a little bit later on. And I got on the plane to come back to the US, and I had never cried like I did in that plane ride that day. I mean, from tears to snots to drool. It was a deeply wounded cry. It was like something came from the depths of my belly and just extracted itself out of my body. And it was my calling. It was the call. It was, this is it, Jay. This is it. You get to work with men. You have been definitely afraid of connecting with men most of your life. You have been hiding out. I would play basketball and I would leave in college, and we would end, everyone would go out for beers and drinking. I would go in my bedroom by myself because I didn't know how to connect with men. I didn't have any male friends growing up. And so that was a big, big thing for me. A lot of men who don't know how to find friends or connect with guys because there's just this gray area. We're uncomfortable within ourselves, where there's so many homeless places within us. So it creates challenges for us to deeply connect, or to even just simply connect. And hey, do you want to hang out with me? We don't feel like we're enough. The inadequacy, right? The impostor syndrome and the control. And what I realized is that my greatest challenge was the one that I had to break through and then go teach. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm breaking through. I'm healing myself as I heal others in this process, and creating breakthroughs and safe spaces for men to have these same conversations, so they can live freedom. They can experience that personal freedom, that total freedom that you talk about. That's what this is about. And at this point, I've become pretty fearless. And it's kind of mind baffling how things can just shift by changing the story, by reframing. The only thing I'm afraid of at this point, Chris, is not speaking enough truth with enough clarity. That's all I fear at this point. Anything else, I'll figure it out along the way. But it's about standing in our truth. It's about communicating our message. And I've got a message, and it is different for everybody what it looks like to be a man. And that every man gets to step out and step into his legacy and create it and live that legacy now. You can't leave a legacy until you first create it and live it out. And that is what I'm committed to teaching men.
It's pretty fucking amazing, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, iTunes, you're going to make this explicit now, but that's the one thing that you just said then that has just made all the difference for me is my greatest challenge I had to break through and then teach.
That's it.
And I'm just so glad that you were able to have that experience over there and to truly find that. And I've got a similar but different, obviously, time. And I feel you, man. I feel you and I hear you. So, look, I think that there's so much more that we can keep on going on about. So I think we need to do a round 2 of this, man. But I normally try to keep this to the point, and I feel that all the listeners out there, man, they're going to be sitting there with their brains swimming at this point where we're at. So let me ask a few things. Firstly, where do people go to get more from you? Where do they go to hang out?
Absolutely. You can find me online, man. I love creating video content. So I've got an amazing YouTube channel. It's called Thought Life, the vlog series. You do YouTube/Thought Life vlog. It's powerful content. Got content every week. You can go to JuvanLangford.com. I love giving away free stuff. So I got freebies out there all the time. Currently, it's a video series called The Beauty of Being a Beast. I've got an amazing coaching program, and that's called The Elevated Man. It's a 6-level online course. I got an amazing community of guys from London to France to New Zealand who are in the program, really enjoying it, an amazing community. So if you want to jump on board and to truly gain clarity, amazing program. And of course, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Juvan Langford, always online. If you got any ideas, I always give away a free coaching session here and there with some people, and just to see if I'm the right guy, because I'm not the right guy for everybody, but for who I am, I'm willing to take a stand for you and to meet you halfway. So that's it, man. I just really want to invite everyone who listens to this podcast to truly understand that vulnerability is beautiful. Just truly understand that my goal, my personal goal, is to become fluent in vulnerability. I can speak English, I can speak Spanish. I'm going to learn Italian and Portuguese, but my goal right now is to become fluent in vulnerability. Because when I do, I invite others to join me there. And the conversations that live in vulnerability, in the vulnerable space, are so beautiful and so groundbreaking for everybody. And we get to win. We get to live our legacies. That's what this is about. It's about creating something that you can lead that lives beyond you. Because we can make good money, we can travel the world and have these experiences, but what lives after you're here? What have you created that is going to be a stand for what you stood for while you were here? That's what I'm concerned with. And that's what I actually believe we all should be focused on. That's where your energy should be. Truly.
Truth.
Yeah.
Dude, we have got so much more that I want to explore. I mean, the questions and everything that you shared, I've got like 2 pages of notes sitting here. Here's some big things that came out for me from spending some time with you. Is the 3 big things that men are stopping them the most: the feeling of being inadequate, the impostor, and trying to keep the control. I mean, that's just huge. And it's not just men, but everyone. You can't complain about something you tolerate. Handed down from grandma. So that was big. And, dude, I love it. And I just want to just tell everyone out there and share to everyone that, you might be listening to this and go, man, this guy just speaks some serious truth and has gone through it and he's crushing it. But I just want everyone to know that you can too.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that I'm getting from this. And my greatest challenge, you've got to break through, and then you get to teach it, and it becomes your biggest gift.
Yeah.
So if you're out there having challenges, right, it's going to become, something so much bigger. So let's just leave with one last thing before we go on to round 2 at another date. But what would be the one big piece of advice you would give yourself if you were to rewind the clock to back when you didn't know all of this stuff?
I would tell myself to allow. When I allow, I receive so much more in life. And a lot of men and women, they just don't allow things to be where they are. They want to change it or manipulate it or to make it better or bigger or stronger or faster. Just allow and trust that you are exactly where you deserve to be. You're exactly where the universe needs you to be in this moment. Even now, there's some things that I want to do. I want to have international explosions and travel the globe and do these things and take men from one side of the country to the other side. I have all these visions for my life, right? All these products and services that I'm super committed to creating. But right now, I'm in an interview with Duncan, and I'm enjoying this thoroughly. And I'm allowing myself to be here so that I can serve, right? So that I can show up as powerful as possible. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to constantly increase our capacity to serve more people. And this was an opportunity for me to do that, for my message, for my story to touch the lives of people who I may not have been able to touch, right?
Right on.
So allow.
Love you, bro. Thank you so much for being on. Listeners, please do me a favor, do yourself a favor, go check out Juvan and what he's up to on YouTube and his different places he shared. They'll all be in the show notes at christophermduncan.com/podcast. So if you want to go check those out, if you watch this on YouTube or wherever you are, go and get those notes and also find out how to get more from Juvan. Dude, again, massive gratitude for having you on here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and,
man.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, man. Round 2. I'm ready for you. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. Hey, listeners, thanks for checking us out. This is your Total Freedom Podcast. My name is Christopher M. Duncan, and I want you to live with total freedom. Free your time, free your life, free your mind, so you can do more of what matters most to you. Go out there, smash it.
This has been the Total Freedom Podcast. Learn more at ChristopherMDuncan.com. Use the hashtag #TotalFreedomTV, and Chris will answer your questions. What are you doing to create freedom today?